Just 5 days after Diane Keaton's passing, her family was already sitting in a lawyer's office. Voices low, eyes sharp, and tension thick enough to cut through. What should have been a time of mourning had turned into a scramble for control. Reports claim her two adopted children, Dexter and Duke, showed up almost immediately, each determined to secure their claim to Diane's estimated $100 million fortune. And within days, her two biological sisters appeared as well, demanding their own share. The sudden urgency, the paperwork, the secrecy, it all felt wrong. Fans began asking the same haunting question: why the rush? According to the official report, Diane's death was caused by bacterial pneumonia. But the whispers online told a different story. Friends had noticed her rapid weight loss, her sudden retreat from the spotlight, and a worrying cough that lingered for weeks. Some even said the emergency call came too late, that she'd been left alone in her final hours. Was this really just pneumonia? Or was something darker hidden beneath the surface? A plan quietly unfolding while the world thought the beloved Hollywood icon was simply ill. Diane Keaton had built a career on emotion, honesty, and vulnerability. But in the end, the people closest to her seemed more interested in her legacy than her life. The quiet grace she was known for had vanished, replaced by lawyers, contracts, and accusations. The world was left in shock, not just by her death, but by what came after. But those first shocking hours were only the beginning. In the months leading up to her death, Diane Keaton began fading from the world she once brightened with her energy and charm. The woman who used to stroll Los Angeles streets in her signature hats, waving to neighbors with a coffee in hand, suddenly disappeared from public view. Friends noticed she had lost a shocking amount of weight and was coughing constantly, her once vibrant voice now weak and raspy. Photos vanished from her social media, public appearances were quietly canceled, and the actress who had defined confidence and individuality seemed to be retreating into silence. Early in 2025, Diane made a decision that baffled everyone who knew her. She sold her beloved Beverly Hills forever home, a place she'd spent years restoring by hand. The house wasn't just a property, it was her masterpiece, the reflection of her soul. Yet she let it go almost overnight, moving to a quiet villa in Palm Springs. Friends said she called it temporary. But something about the move felt final. It was there, away from cameras and colleagues, that her health reportedly worsened. Neighbors rarely saw her. Deliveries came to a closed gate. A few visitors who managed to see her later described a woman who looked frail and tired, coughing through sentences and insisting she was fine. But there was no trace of the lively Diane Keaton the world adored. No laughter, no sparkle, no public presence. The secrecy around her condition grew deeper, with no official statements, no medical updates, not even a mention from her family. Those close to her began to wonder, was Diane hiding her illness, or was someone else hiding it for her? And that secrecy would become the spark for a storm after her death. In the mid-1990s, when most of Hollywood's leading ladies were chasing awards or new roles, Diane Keaton made a very different choice. At 50, she walked into an adoption agency and changed not only two young lives, but her own forever. In 1996, she adopted a baby girl she named Dexter. And 5 years later, in 2001, she brought home her son, Duke. Friends said it was the happiest they had ever seen her. The constant smile, the late-night lullabies, the quiet pride of a woman who finally found the family she had never thought she'd have. She raised them alone, without the cushion of a partner or the spotlight of fame. Between film sets and photo shoots, Diane packed lunches, attended school plays, and made sure her children grew up grounded. She often said that motherhood had softened her edges, that the love she gave to Dexter and Duke was the kind she never received as a child. Unconditional, patient, endless. Her home became a sanctuary of laughter and paint stains, with her kids chasing each other down hallways while she worked on scripts at the kitchen table. Diane didn't just give them her time, she gave them her entire world. She shielded them from the chaos of Hollywood, made sure they knew the value of hard work, and built her fortune not for fame, but for their future. Every house she restored, every book she wrote, every royalty check, all of it was meant for them. Her legacy wasn't just art or architecture. It was family. But love can turn into leverage when a will worth millions is at stake. When Diane's will was finally read, the calm surface of grief shattered into chaos. Within days, Dexter and Duke, once the picture of quiet unity, were suddenly on opposite sides of a growing battlefield. Dexter, the eldest, was seen leaving a Los Angeles law office clutching a thick stack of papers, her face hidden behind dark glasses. According to insiders, she wanted control of her mother's real estate empire, especially the Brentwood house Diane had called her heart project. She claimed she'd helped her mother design it, restore it, and turn it into a symbol of their bond. For Dexter, that home wasn't just property. It was proof that she was Diane's true heir. But Duke saw things differently. A young entrepreneur with dreams of launching his own tech brand, he wasn't interested in architecture or nostalgia. What he wanted was the liquid gold, the cash, royalties, and investment portfolios that fueled Diane's $100 million estate. Friends say he arrived at his own attorney's office the same day, demanding access to accounts tied to film profits, book sales, and trust funds. He believed Diane had promised him the financial power to carry on her independence, something he saw as his birthright. Then came the accusations. Dexter claimed Duke had pressured their mother during her final months to adjust the will in his favor. Duke countered that Dexter had isolated Diane, managing her home sales and healthcare decisions alone. Behind closed doors, lawyers compared signatures, phone logs, and even old text messages, trying to untangle what was truth and what was manipulation. The once private Keaton family had turned into a legal circus. Siblings, lawyers, and whispers of betrayal echoing through marble halls. They were two children chosen by love, now divided by money. And just when the battle couldn't get uglier, blood entered the ring. That's when Diane's two biological sisters stepped out of the shadows. Dory and Robin Hall, both in their 70s, had stayed quiet through the funeral, until the headlines about inheritance started flooding in. Then came the calls, the emails, and eventually the lawyers. They claimed Diane had promised to leave them something for the years of family care, and they weren't going to be written out without a fight. Dory was the first to make a move, contacting an attorney in Los Angeles to review Diane's will. A few days later, Robin joined her. Soon, the two were walking into law offices together, demanding transparency about the estate. According to insiders, what followed was pure chaos. Heated meetings, slammed doors, raised voices. At one point, the sisters reportedly confronted Duke directly, accusing him of locking them out of their own sister's legacy. Dexter fired back through her lawyer, insisting the will was crystal clear. Everything belonged to Diane's children, not her extended family. Emails between the siblings' lawyers leaked online hinted at bitter exchanges. There were accusations of greed, betrayal, even manipulation of their mother's declining health. One witness claimed the tension became so severe that the sisters nearly came to blows during a legal consultation. Another recalled seeing Duke storm out, shouting that he was done being treated like a villain. The family that Diane had spent a lifetime protecting was tearing itself apart in public view. A close friend of Diane's, heartbroken by the spectacle, told reporters if Diane could see this, she'd be devastated. Family meant everything to her. This isn't what she wanted. But the most disturbing question wasn't about who gets what. It was how Diane really died. In the days after her death, the internet began piecing together a picture that didn't quite add up. Fans flooded Reddit threads and TikTok comment sections, connecting every strange detail. The delayed 911 call, the sudden sale of her home, the eerie silence from her family in her final months. Some claimed pneumonia was just a convenient label, masking what might have been neglect, or worse. One popular theory suggested Diane had been slowly weakened over time. Her rapid weight loss, persistent cough, and isolation from friends weren't just symptoms of illness. They were signs of something more deliberate. People pointed to how quickly Dexter and Duke moved after her passing, as if they had been preparing for it. Another rumor accused them of controlling her environment, restricting visitors, delaying medical care, even manipulating her emotionally in her final months. Nothing has ever been proven, but the coincidences unsettled everyone who once admired the warmth of their family bond. A few former colleagues privately told reporters that Diane had seemed unusually withdrawn in her last phone calls, distracted and uncertain. She didn't sound like herself, one said quietly. Even her beloved dog, Reggie, was reportedly sent away weeks before her death, a detail that left fans heartbroken and suspicious. Online sleuths began calling the situation Hollywood's quietest mystery, comparing it to other celebrity estates clouded by secrecy and control. Still, no police investigation was ever opened. The official statement remained simple: bacterial pneumonia. Yet, to fans and friends, it felt too neat, too tidy for a woman whose life was anything but ordinary. The unanswered questions lingered like a chill in the air. Whether or not those theories are true, one thing was undeniable. Few people realized just how vast Diane Keaton's empire truly was. To the public, she was the quirky, scarf-wearing actress with a camera in one hand and a script in the other. But behind that eccentric charm was one of Hollywood's savviest real estate minds. Over 5 decades, Diane had built an empire worth nearly $100 million, not just from films, but from the art of restoration itself. They called her Hollywood's quiet real estate queen. While her peers chased roles, Diane was chasing blueprints: Spanish colonial homes, Mission Revival estates, mid-century gems scattered across California. She bought them cheap, restored them with surgical precision, then sold them for millions. Her Brentwood property alone was estimated between $20 and $30 million. She once flipped a Laguna Beach villa for $12 million, a Beverly Hills colonial to Ryan Murphy for $10, and even one to Madonna for $6.5. Each deal carried her fingerprint: white stucco, arched doorways, and the subtle balance between nostalgia and modern perfection. But real estate was just one piece of the mosaic. Her royalties from The Godfather, Annie Hall, and Something's Gotta Give still brought in millions annually. Her memoirs, Then Again, Let's Just Say It Wasn't Pretty, and Brother and Sister, sold worldwide, adding literary weight to her Hollywood resume. There were also brand collaborations, photography projects, and The House That Pinterest Built, a book that turned her architectural obsession into a publishing triumph. To Diane, this wasn't about money. It was about legacy. Every wall she rebuilt, every line she wrote, was her way of preserving beauty and order in a world she often found chaotic. Yet that very legacy, the thing she loved most, became the battleground after her death. Her houses, her royalties, her name, all reduced to leverage in a fight among those she trusted most. And now, that empire stands in limbo, between love, greed, and justice. In the end, Diane Keaton's story feels like both a masterpiece and a tragedy. She gave the world her talent, her laughter, her sharp mind, and she gave her heart to the 2 children she chose as her own. To friends, she was the picture of generosity, the woman who donated quietly, mentored young artists, and built a life of meaning far beyond fame. Her homes weren't just investments. They were love letters to design, history, and imagination. Her family wasn't just blood. It was choice, compassion, and devotion. And yet, In her absence, that love has turned into a storm. The courtroom meetings, the accusations, the whispers of betrayal, all of it stands in painful contrast to the warmth Diane lived by. The woman who spent decades creating beauty now has her legacy clouded by chaos. It makes you wonder, was her greatest gift family the very thing that destroyed her peace? Who do you think deserves to inherit Diane's fortune? The children she raised with love, or the sisters who shared her roots? Tell us what you believe in the comments below. And if you want to follow every twist of this unfolding family battle, subscribe and stay tuned for the next chapter, as the Keaton family's legal storm continues to unfold.